So good evening, Rotarians, and all of the colleagues in peace. I am Jim Halderman, the chair of the District 5450 Peace Committee, which sponsors the Forum for Discussion. I should mention that tonight everybody in the city of Denver was asked to wear blue and gold, and the city is covered in blue and gold lights. And I'd like to think that's for Rotary. But the truth is, we're missing a few local people because our local basketball team, the Denver Nuggets, is starting its national playoff tonight. We may end up being the national winners, who knows? But that game is starting tonight. We're probably missing a few for that game. However, in basketball, I think it's only the last 2 minutes that counts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I am so very, very pleased to introduce Sanford Hinden. Tonight, we'll learn Sanford's concept of functional democracy. He draws from an extensive background and resources, many, many resources. I assume we all have read his broad background. So with no further story, Sandy, the floor, or in this case, the screen, is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for inviting me, and I hope I can bring some ideas to you, and you'll continue to be great Rotarians in trying to make peace in our world. And let me just start by sharing the screen, and then I have to enlist your help. This program has, it's about 76 pages. There's no, it's very hard to get through all this material, so I'm going to need your help, like on pages like here, where you see these colors. I'll need 8 people to read across the band. So like, would you identify yourself, which color, if you would help out, which color you would read? Just read it, or just say 1, 2, 3. For those people who don't mind reading.
I'll do 7.
I'll do 8.
I'll do 6. 5.
I'll do 1.
Okay,
I'll
4.
do 2.
Okay, and then red.
Do you want me to do? I'll do 3.
Okay, and red is the last one. That's the most difficult one in the world, actually, right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So if you would so do we have anybody for red?
I'll do it.
Okay, great. So this afternoon I had to summarize this because I realized it's too much, and like I don't know if I'm going to get through it, but I'm going to try to really breeze through this. And so there's too much material to present. What are the most important parts? I realize that values and needs are what drive people. But let me switch to the slideshow. And if we don't learn positive values and positive principles for living, we don't have empathy and concern for others in nature. Spiral dynamics looks at the various value systems around the world. I had known about spiral dynamics like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But now I met somebody who's an expert in spiral dynamics, and I put his material into this document, and his wife was the creator of functional democracy. And so I was curious if we can use spiral dynamics to facilitate values development. My conclusion is that at each level, if you're going to get to the next level of values, you would have to give up your present set of contacts, the people you associate with, or you'd have to explain to others you're evolving to other values to grow. And most people, I don't think, are willing to do that. You don't want to give up the people you associate with. You're comfortable with your family, your friends. And so we'll see what happens with this. But at the end of the presentation, I started a new project as a result of what I learned from spiral dynamics, and you'll see that. I'll show you what we need to do to evolve society. Okay, so I know, this peace group is really interested in what's going on around the world. And so we have Russia, Ukraine, NATO, United States as a conflict, North Korea, South Korea, the United States, Taiwan, China, the United States, Israel, Palestine, Iran, United States, Israel, Sudan, and Russia is an influencer in Sudan, Pakistan, India, and China is an influencer in Pakistan, I believe, and global migration causing a rival country backlash, shifting governments to the right. Now, that's going on all around the world right now, and it's causing a lot of problems. The emerging issues is what is going on that spiral dynamics is not accounting for. Problematic multinational alliances like NATO, BRICS, OPEC, global migration from corruption, crime, climate change, the culture war, social media creating hostility, psychopathic leaders, and military, industrial, congressional intelligence, the media, entertainment, academic think tank complex, generating violence and war industry. So spiral dynamics doesn't deal with that. And I realize that's, one of the limitations of it. So this defines what spiral dynamics is. It starts from the bottom up. So somebody read beige first. Who's the beige person, the number one? Okay, Ray. Maybe you could turn your speakers, your microphones on. I don't think.
I was on mute, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
everybody's muted, so unmute when you speak, sorry.
yeah.
So archaic, instinctive, basic survival needs: food, water, warmth, rest, sex, safety.
Now this happened 10,000 years ago. This groups started to emerge. Okay, even probably way more than that further back. Okay, then purple.
Who was two?
They may be muted.
Who is our purple person? Okay, I'll read it for now, and then maybe that person will come back on. Tribes, spirits, they believe in spirits of nature, mysterious powers, magic, rites, rituals, taboos, curses, spells, voodoo, driven by sacredness, imagination, the fear of the unknown, belonging, and camaraderie. Then the red group.
It's me, but I got a word cut off, but I'll start.
Oh.
Asserting one's individual power and, what's that word?
Subduing.
Desire to determinate of others.
Detriment.
Culture of heroes, powerful gods, slavery. That word's cut off. What is that word?
Driven.
Driven, gratification, impulse, adventure, bravery, and it's cut off.
Honor.
Honor and glory.
Yeah.
Okay.
How come it's cut off? What do you think?
All the pictures of everyone is running down my side of the screen. I don't know.
Okay, what you have to do is you have to grab up on the top. You have
Okay.
to grab the black bar and move it when you need to.
Okay. Oh, I see. There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the blue.
I'm not sure anybody spoke up for blue.
You know what? Everybody should undo your muting, because I don't think there'll be a problem with the system. Zoom has gotten much better. Can everybody undo?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Who is blue?
Just, we can read it, go so fast: conformity, obeying rules, respecting procedures and traditions, absolute authority of religion and or rulers, code of conduct based on dogmatic principles of right and wrong, driven by duty, faith, discipline, restraint, virtue, guilt, afterlife. Wow.
So that's the blue. They're into order and authoritarian rule.
Mhm.
Orange, achievement and materialistic.
Creativity, competition, technological progress, entrepreneurialism, capitalism, consumerism, driven by money, image, status, fame, success, and recognition.
Okay, the next is the green, relativistic communitarian group.
Egalitarianism, pluralism, multiculturalism, environmentalism, sharing community, sustainable economy, driven by tolerance, respect for others, altruism, consensus, cooperation, fairness.
Okay, the yellow, systemic
That's-
integrative.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Self-development, continuous learning, flexibility, functionality, hierarchies based on knowledge and competency, driven by integrity, sincerity, humility, and self-awareness. Is that a good one? It sure sounds like a good one.
Right, I'll explain more. So the turquoise group, holistic, interconnected.
And then we achieve global thinking culture, collective individualism, collective intelligence, driven by peace, harmony, and tranquility.
Right, so we've been evolving, upwards in the spiral. And now let me go to the next page. So basically, you have the survival band, instinct driven, a tribal order, safety driven, an exploitive empire. They were power driven, authoritarian structure. They're order driven, strategic enterprise. They're success driven, social network, people driven, systemic flow, and it's process oriented. And then there's the holistic organism, synthesis oriented. Okay, now let me wait. What do I have here? Okay, now how this translates into, if you flip this chart sideways and you start at you take off the first two groups, the beige group and the purple group. You start with the right, and it just about corresponds all the way out to the yellow, and we don't have the turquoise group in here, but this is the most far out group in yellow on the left-hand side is what would have been used to be called the far left. The far left has morphed into a bunch of creative ideas for a totally new planet. And the people in the middle, that's the orange group, that is, the people who are pro-capitalism, and there's a lot of things that go on in that area that are that's where like a lot of addictions are, because people have money to get addicted to all the things going on. Here you have a lot of the rights groups are going on in the green, yellow, green areas, and then it moves into the yellow. In the right is where we're having a lot of difficulty with people who are dictators, authoritarians, brutalists, dominators, bullies, the white nationalists, white rights are in here, the secessionists, anti-immigration, oligarchs, anti-law, law and order, anti-crime, gun culture, pro-cars, pro-fossil fuel, high-carbon lifestyles. And it goes, to a little more to the left is radical business deregulation, like libertarians. And then here's the conservative groups are in here, like pro-heterosexual, traditional women's roles, business class, low taxes, small government, fundamental, orthodox in government, anti-abortion. So it just about corresponds to our contemporary issues, our issue politics. Now, I started to look at what are the real forces that we're having difficulty with in the world, the culture wars, the battling between various groups, and you can clearly see them. You can clearly see them here. This is the red is the white nationalists seeking domination. The blue is the religious groups dominating nations and causing difficulties. Orange is the anti-tax, anti-regulation forces, the fossil fuel forces, and sophisticated criminal organizations. They're operating in here. And then the environmentalists are in here, and people advocating for Black, Brown, Asian rights and opportunities, women's rights and opportunities, and LGBTQ rights are in the green areas. So I backed out a little bit. I zoomed out a little bit and took a bigger look at values. And when our values are aligned, we feel alive, connected, thriving, and flourishing. When our values are not aligned, we feel a disconnect. Humanity has been increasingly out of values alignment with Earth for the past 250 years, out of 2 million years of evolution, going from the personal value level all the way down to the Earth system's values. And here you have political parties, corporations, organizations have their own values. You have cultural and community values, national values, geopolitical alliance values, political economic system values, and the United Nations values and the Earth systems. What will it take to realign our systems with Earth so our children and grandchildren can flourish on Earth? So I realized that positive values such as peace, compassion, kindness, fairness, justice, wisdom, and well-being, and principles for living such as the golden rule, treat yourself as you would like to be treated. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it's dealing with problems well, and humility is the root of all strength. These positive values and principles for living are shortcuts for dealing with life's complexity. You know where I read that today? We're reading Robert Muller's book, Most of All They Taught Me Happiness, and he said something like that about these positive values, that they're shortcuts for complexity, because life is so amazingly complex. But if we operate with these, it makes it simpler for us because we focus back on these things. So meanwhile, sociopaths and psychopaths and many criminals never had anyone take the time to teach them positive values and principles for living. There's some evidence that in psychopaths that they have some brain differences. But to me, and I'm working with people, we're looking at the fitness for duty evaluations. And so I'm learning a lot more about psychopaths. But that may be true that there's something biologically different in a psychopath's brain, but I bet you they still didn't have anybody take the time to try to teach them positive values and principles. So children and youth need to learn positive values and principles for living to develop their character. Where children learn these values and principles? In the family, the schools, and the community, and the media. Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment because let that sink in, that we have to help the next generation and children learn to live better lives, or it's going to be very hard to solve these problems. So would somebody, so the beige person, would you read this page?
That's me. Spiral dynamics, development of human values, beliefs, and worldviews. Spiral dynamics is a model describing the development of human values, beliefs, and worldviews evolving over time. The model is intended to provide a framework for understanding human development, not a definitive categorization of people.
Right. Now, the purple person, would you read this? The reason I'm asking you to do that is because there's a lot of material in here, and if I keep reading it, it's the same tone will kind of put you to sleep. Not because I put people to sleep, but because the tone is, after a while, becomes monotonous, and hearing each other will waken us up more. Okay, so the purple group, purple person.
These potential problems are not universal.
Hello? Purple?
Or that may be me. Each level Each level in spiral dynamics represents a different worldview and set of values, and each level has its own strengths and weaknesses with potential faults or problems that can arise at each level. These potential problems are not universal or inevitable. People at each level can exhibit a range of behaviors.
Okay, the red person?
Rigid culture traditions, economic inequalities, and political repression can limit individuals and society's ability to move toward higher stages of development. Levels are transcended when people believe they are stuck and there has to be a better way.
Okay, blue? Okay, blue.
It is not clear whether the development levels of societies can be rapidly facilitated and accelerated to avoid global conflict and collapse. Individual human development is facilitated and accelerated through positive personal experiences, positive social and cultural influences, high quality education, exposure to diverse perspectives.
Okay, now this is where the potential problems arise and the difficulties in each of these groups occur. So we'll start with beige. That was Jim again? Is that right?
That's me. So the focus is survival, meeting basic needs. Potential problem is may not be able to think beyond their immediate needs and adapt to changing circumstances. Difficulties are may not be able to navigate the modern world.
Right, purple?
Oh, no, I'm not purple.
Okay, magic superstition may be prone to believing in conspiracy theories or rejecting scientific evidence. Oppressive theocracy, and the difficulties are oppressive theocracy and delusional thinking. Okay, the red person?
You want me to read the difficulties, right?
Right, no, read across, like the
Okay.
focus is power domination.
Our domination may be prone to aggression and violence and lack compassion and empathy for others. Warlords, gangs, crime, and kleptocracy.
Kleptocracy, that's kleptocracy.
Okay.
That's stealing, that's like kleptomaniacs, so it's like stealing from the government itself. There's a lot of kleptocracy in Russia. There was a lot of kleptocracy there.
Yeah.
Okay, so blue?
I'll read it.
I don't think there was a blue. I'll read it.
Okay,
Order transition may be resistant to change and be intolerant of people who hold different beliefs. The difficulties are stubborn and willing to learn, grow, and improve.
right, orange?
Individualism, achievement, may be prone to materialism and prioritize their own success over the needs of others. Money buys government, lobbying, corruption, indifference to environment, addiction to consumption.
Green?
Focus on community and equality. Potential problem may react negatively to conventionality, mainstream, corporate, authority, consumerism, hierarchy, autonomy, power, and aggression. And the difficulties are hostile to slow change and intolerant of others' views.
Right. Okay, yellow?
Systematic thinking complexity may be prone to intellectual elitism, unable to communicate effectively with people at lower levels, unable to explain complex ideas to help the public.
Right, and then turquoise? The turquoise is very advanced. There's not many turquoise people around.
Yeah, global unity, interdependence, but may be prone to spiritual bypassing using spiritual explanations to dismiss or avoid complicated emotions or psychological issues, and neglect the practical needs of people in their own community. And the difficulties of that remains toxic positivity, spiritual superiority, and disconnection from the public.
Right, so these are the difficulties. And then I looked at Elza Malouf's work with one of the founders of Spiral Dynamics, was Don Beck, and she was from Lebanon, along with her husband. And so she's very familiar with the Mideast, and she applied this. So this is worth reading. We won't read her bio, but it's in here. And by the way, I'm going to drop this document and the follow-up document into the chat so you can have them for yourself. So you don't have to try to memorize any of this stuff. I'll read this. So Elza Malouf's focused on what causes a culture to emerge and prosper or stagnate and fall. Systemically dysfunctional societies inch closer by the day to collective chaos through oppression, inequality, and violence. As they face an increasingly interconnected world, people need to keep from backsliding into the grasp of feudal, unhealthy ideologies by taking charge of their own inalienable rights to freedom, equality, and prosperity. Functional democracy is a process for governance based on the Beck-Graves model of value systems and the theories of spiral dynamics integral. Malouf, the founder of the Center for Human Emergence Middle East and the co-founder of the Build Palestinian Initiative, is a geopolitical expert on the region, where she pioneered the application of large-scale psychology and design concepts for conflict resolution. By placing democracy in an evolutionary value system framework that is indigenously specific to the region, she clarifies the foundations necessary for cultural change. Malouf's framework for decoding the complexities of the Middle East succeeds in many places where the West's approach to conflict resolution failed. By weaving together the threads that make up the pattern of each culture, she shows the crucial roles that memes are like genes, but they're cultural genes. So a meme is an idea that gets transferred from one place to the next. So she shows the crucial role of memes, how they play in creating a system of governance that truly fits. We need to seek understanding before we create a structure. Malouf's functional democracy is based on youth building and their own sustainable indigenous ideas and processes. What she discovered was that her country, and this is Don Beck's background, she discovered that her country, Lebanon, that the French, when Lebanon was being developed as a unique country, the French imposed a process of democracy based on their own thinking on top of them, and it didn't consider the tribal groups and the religions inside Lebanon. And so that to this day, the tribal groups and the religions are still fighting each other inside Lebanon. So democracy didn't work, right? So that's what gave her the idea to look more deeply at other ways to create democracy. So this is what she did. These are the keys that are in there. I won't go into this, because we won't go into drive down into too much detail, but read the Gem, you're beige, and the V meme means values meme.
I'm beige. Survival-based groups.
That's the meaning of democracy for each of these different groups, and it has a different political form and the perceptions of one person, one vote, and what percentage of the world is like this is in the last column.
Okay. So the other meaning of democracy is genetic memory instinct. Political form, no concept of governance. and no concept of governance, and there's 0% of the global population holds to this now, apparently.
Yeah, so now purple. Democracy, the meaning of democracy in the purple, for the purple group is, did we have any, what our people decide to do, announced by the chief, guided by the elders and mystical forces. This form of governance exists in only mixed systems with level 3 and 4. So that it's mixed with these things. So it's tribes, clans, councils, extended families, and lineages. That's the political form. The one person, one vote. Individual votes don't matter and are not encouraged by the group or the tribe. The chief knows best. Full group allegiance to third level leader or fourth level ideology. And that's various places in the Middle East. India is a mixed in this area. Africa is mixed. China is mixed. So South America is mixed, and about 5% of the population of the people. I'm not sure about these numbers, but that's what she thought.
Yeah, I would think if China and India are both in one section, it's more than 5% of the
Yeah, so I don't know how
population.
I don't know, she's making, maybe taking parts. I don't know what her research actually showed, what percentage of Africa, where she gets this 5%. I'm not sure. Okay, so red.
Whatever the feudal lord says it is, power to the people is power to the clan leader and the chosen few. The feudal distribution system, institutions are vacuous,
Yeah.
designed to enrich self and cronies. Rich get richer, poor gets poorer. All except have-nots as reality. And then their political form are dictatorship, the feudal empire, domination, the corrupt autocracy, strong-arm tactics, patriarchy, and no clear national political platform, and the perception of one person, one vote. Votes go to the feudal lords and the
Zaims, I'm not sure.
okay. Dissenting voters will get eliminated from the political process. Opposition is thrown in jail and out of country or even killed. Voting for winning candidates grants access to power, and then power could be seized the next day. And then their value system or the global population percentage, Middle East and India is mixed, Africa's mixed, South America mixed, parts of Southeast Asia mixed, China mixed, and Russia. So that's 33%. That's a lot.
Okay, then blue.
A lot of reading.
Do we have a blue person?
Yes, I'll do it. Meaning of democracy: justice and fairness for all. Everyone is equal under the law. Good people follow the law, rules, and traditions. Disputes resolved through institutions and legal procedures. Duty to pay fair share to support the system. Autonomy and individuality is not encouraged. The right to defend my country. Political form: authoritarian democracy, nation states, one party rule, heavy hand of government, winner takes all and rules all without input from the losing minority parties. Perception of one person, one vote. Votes matter to the one party that has all the right answers. Vote in line with family, church, and other civic groups who know the one true way. Candidate to share my ethnicity and views on nationalism, get my vote.
Right, and don't bother reading the percentages. Well, because I have another little chart that explains the percentages.
Got it.
Okay, then orange, that's the modern world today, for the most part.
Pluralistic politics. game of incentives within a system of checks and balances, federal governance with full rights to states and provinces, relationship with losing party is to the strategic advantage of the winner. System turns politicians into corporate lobbyists after service. Political form, multi-party democracy, corporate states, super PACs, Bill of Rights. Economic status sets power ratios resulting in wider gaps between the haves and have-nots. Perception of one person, one vote. Individual votes are highly valued and go to the candidate who shares voters' views. I vote for a candidate who provides opportunity for personal success and financial achievement. The higher my net worth, the higher the potential to steer political outcomes.
Right.
And the value system, global,
Yeah,
global
we'll
population
skip that.
percentage.
Yeah, but
Okay,
it's about
bunch of
24
countries.
about 24%, yeah. Okay, and then green, did we have a green?
Yeah. Meaning of democracy. Everybody shares equally in reaching consensus. The purpose of the system is to care for we the people and the common good. Equal access to all resources by all people. The human bond has priority over political manipulation. Political forms are social democracy, coalition governments, highly successful in homogeneous European societies. Taxes private enterprise to spread social service equally. Perception of one person, one vote. Votes are important, but the loser still has an equal voice. Make sure that there is a group consensus on a candidate before voting. Vote goes to the candidate who most supports the environment, social programs, and gender equity. 8% of the global population.
Right, yellow. Barbara, were you yellow?
I am. A process of integrating the majority of all first-tier political systems
Now,
And-
first tier means everything from 1 to 6, and then 7 and 8, they considered second tier.
into a functional form of governance that works for all. People have the right to be who they are as long as they are not hurting anyone on the planet or the planet. Balance of government and private sector based on functionality. You know, functional democracy is a form of governance that work based on value systems, profiles, and stages of development. Stratified systems designed with the input of indigenous intelligence, I like that, recognizes that one person, one vote works for societies, and dominant memes are at the non-ideological fourth level or higher. This is hard stuff, Sam.
Yeah, it is. I know it is.
Are we supposed to understand all this?
No, wait, let me see. What does that sentence say? Recognize that one person, one vote for societies with dominant memes at the non-ideologue fourth level or higher. I don't know what the heck that means.
That's what I think. You're right on. You got it, Sandy. Okay, now these are all very interesting. And how are you helping us understand
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay, we're going to get there. Okay, works
let's
with
get through
benevolent
this.
leaders within the third and fourth level means to establish institutions leading to one person, one vote system in the future. And if you look at the number of countries, that's 3% of the gross PSA.
Right, now then this 8th level is we're nowhere near this. Global governance, macro management of all life forms seeking common good in response to global problems, mix of holistic, cooperative, intuitive, and cognitive systems. They call it holonic democracy, whatever that is. Whole Earth networks, interconnection of geo-consciousness, self-organizing governance systems, governance and voting decisions copy nature's movements, changes in patterns. Voting decisions are both a distinct and blended part of a larger compassionate whole. So it's 0%, and people aren't operating on this level at all yet. Okay, so this is, you can see where the countries are. Currently there are 51 dictatorships in the world. And so there's a lot in the Middle East and Africa, and it's red and purple. The third world countries are mostly blue and below: India, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt. The first world countries are mostly orange and above: the United States, Canada, UK, Germany, Japan, South Korea, China. And then Europe, Northern Europe is the greenest: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Greenland, and Iceland. Now, culturally, there are cultural clashes with these values clashes that we're experiencing great difficulty. Okay, so they call it now the culture wars. So global media and migration are introducing people with different beliefs and values. When you, in a separated world, in the early 1900s, you had 1 billion people on the planet. It took a million years to get to 1 billion. Then by the end of the century, we were at 7 billion. And now we're at like 8 billion on 20 years later. So, but that all the corruption, the crime, the organized crime, the civil wars, the big wars, the environmental problems, climate change are causing massive migration. And then people with these 8 different levels, you know, about 6 different levels of beliefs are now meeting each other and clashing. So major cities are usually 1 to 2 levels higher than nearby rural areas. Red dictatorships and orange corptocracy are in a clash with green democracy and what I call wiseocracy. That's my work. I do work called wiseocracy, trying to make wise democracies. Only money matters orange capitalism is in a clash with green, yellow, well-being economy people. The red religion group versus orange modernity is in clash in China, Israel, and the United States. The religious groups are in clash with many parts of the scientific communities in those countries. The orange medicine that's in the modern world is in clash with the yellow wellness anti-vaccine group. The green LGBTQ verse is in clash with the red religion heterosexuality group. The green women's rights are in clash with the red religion anti-abortion group. The green immigration asylum is in clash with the blue-red border wall, you know, the white power group. So these are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clashes that are going on every day, and it's causing a lot of stress for people. Now, Saeed Al-Dolabani, that's the person I met, and he took from spiral dynamics, and his focus is on, he created a book called Memenomics, the next generation economic system. And what he did was he broke it down into 5 different types of economic systems that have, and like we're currently in the 5th level, the only money matters, identified the values of the individual's 5th level, orange value system of strategic enterprise, personal advancement, and resource manipulation. There's been earlier systems based on the red, based on the blue, and then the future will be based on this green level that's trying to go on. And then he calls a future 5th level on the orange, on the yellow level. His ideas for economics in that system. Now I'm going to give you this so you can study it on your own if you like. And I want to move more quickly now through a couple of pieces.
What was your question, Ken? Spiral dynamics. What was your question there? Right on the last one. Ken's not that one.
Oh, what?
That, no, not yet. Keep going. One more. No. I thought question.
Is there a question in the chat?
Dynamics.
Does somebody have a question in the chat? Just read it out.
No, that's okay. Keep going.
Okay. Okay, so now.
Spiral dynamics help humanity evolve to avoid global. That's my question.
Yeah, right. Now that was my big question too. So like, this is what I noticed, that people in political party beliefs are dominated by certain ideas. Each political party has its own ideas, right? And values. And when there are competing ideas, society, culture can seem like it's splitting apart. That's what it feels like our societies are splitting apart. So there's 7 sets of ideas in multi-party democracies. You know, I showed you, but I put the colors in for these before. So each group may criticize the others. They often don't clarify the policies and programs for how people would live, function, and relate in their dominant, if their dominant ideas took over. This leads to constant bickering and a waste of time. We need to clarify what living together collaboratively on a flourishing planet would look like. Now, I started a project to do that, and the whole thing fell apart because I realized when I got deeply into the spiral dynamics, these value systems are just way too far apart for people to agree on what a flourishing planet would look like. So it was it can't work. It can't happen to come up with simple answers like that. So I'm not going to go into this, but it's interesting. There's some interesting ideas in here. That's the breakdown again. This is the way somebody else showed these various epochs by these colors, and the moral development stages by these colors, and cognitive development by these colors. So that somebody else did a lot of extensive work on that. This is the culture wars in the United States. Now, in parliamentary systems, you don't have this clear breakdown of like binary systems. That's why America is such a train wreck, because it's clearly a binary system, because it doesn't have a lot of different voices, although the different voices can make things difficult also. So the culture wars are disagreements over values. They're fueled by intersectionality and cross-marketing to create large aligned issue identity camps, voting blocks, and political parties that profit from voters being locked into those political platforms. With the media and social media marketing, the level of intensity, hostility, and violence keeps increasing each year, because they're binary, because this is opposite that. Now, I'm not going to go into this because it's too much detail. So why, but I'll just do it quickly. Why do some people never change their minds? There's cognitive bias, there's confirmation bias, there's intellectual rigidity, emotional attachment, social influence, and lack of exposure to diverse perspectives. This clarifies what each of those is. I'll give you this document so you can study it if you want. These problematic leaders, Trump, Putin, Xi, Kim, Assad, Netanyahu, the problematic countries, problematic regions, problematic national alliances, problems of war, corruption, fossil fuels, while driving migration, political backlash, fear, psychological regression, and political movement to the right. So that's what's going on now. Unchecked ego, I won't go into this. And so this begins we have all this. I'm not going to go into this because it's too negative now. Now you're hearing one negative thought after another, so I'm not going to go into it. Okay, spiral dynamics to help humanity evolve. Jim, would you read this?
Spiral dynamics is a psychological model. It describes the development of individuals, groups, and societies through various stages of values and worldviews. Spiral dynamics can contribute as a tool to the quest for human evolution. It offers insights into how human beings perceive and interact with the world around them. Spiral dynamics suggests that individuals and societies progress through different stages of development, each characterized by distinct value systems and ways of thinking. The model emphasizes the importance of understanding and respecting the values and needs of different individuals and cultures.
Okay, so spiral dynamics can provide a framework for understanding and analyzing human behavior and be a useful tool for fostering empathy and cooperation among different groups. I don't see how it can really do that, but at this point,
kindness, like Robert said, if you practice kindness, then that would work.
Yeah, but it's hard to get people to practice kindness.
Well,
know,
you have to be the model yourself, as
yeah,
I,
but that's 1 out of 8 billion people. This was looking at groups, and these are massive groups
yeah,
not practicing empathy. So let's see, by recognizing the different value systems at play, individuals and societies can work towards greater inclusivity, collaboration. Yeah, they can work towards it, but let's see. It can also help identify areas where growth and development are needed, and it does, both at the individual and collective levels. Its application and effectiveness in evolving humanity depends on various factors. The willingness of individuals and societies to engage with the model, the willingness to adapt their behavior accordingly, and then these are ways that that help: education, cultural exchange, ethical considerations, sustainable practices, shared commitments to positive change. So I'm going to skip this. How can they evolve more rapidly? People can become stuck in their present level. Getting to the next level would require them to go beyond the present community connections on their level of consciousness and new connections at the next level of consciousness. So people may not want to do that because it requires great effort to find new friends, new associates, and new work connections on the next level. They would need to explain spiral dynamics model to family and friends, and it's too complex to do that. So facilitating evolution with spiral dynamics, I tried to put it all together on 1 page. This is a little tool to try to calm down the culture war. I won't go into it, but it's in the document if you want to take a look at how to calm down the emotions and listen to people. This I thought was insightful that Saeed said. Interest groups and tribes need to subordinate their belief systems to higher values of peaceful coexistence, inclusion, and harmony to identify with the ideal of one nation under one flag. That's what they couldn't do in Lebanon. They couldn't like subordinate their belief systems to higher values. And so now you have all these factions in Lebanon. And so then if you extrapolate that, nations need to subordinate their belief systems into higher values of peaceful coexistence, inclusion, and harmony to identify with the ideal of one planet with one world system. So the nations are having trouble going beyond their individual systems to get to the one planet with one world system also. So here's the Rotary, the Rotary piece in here, but with a win-lose mentality, you get domination, one side wins, hostile world, lose-lose, you have mutual aggression, mutual deterioration, mutual destruction. In a win-win world, you have mutual benefit, all improve, and a flourishing earth. So this is a competitive win-lose finite games that are being played out right now, and we need collaborative win-win infinite games if we're going to ever get to a win-win world. Okay, these culture wars are leading to real wars, and competitive win-lose finite games may produce the end of humanity on Earth. Humans need to rapidly learn collaborative win-win games. What are they? They're played for the purpose of continuing play rather than winning. An infinite mindset and open-mindedness to change aligned with infinite play builds stronger, more innovative, inspiring, and resilient organizations and systems over larger timescales compared to just the win-lose. With a win, there's a winner and a loser and a beginning, middle, and an end. So this is what we need to play, is these infinite creative games to get to a win-win world. This is my Wiseocracy 7 methods. This is how Wiseocracy works. This is what's going on in terms of the world population for democracy and autocracy. This defines the 4 different types of systems: liberal democracy, electoral autocracy, and closed autocracy. This shows what's happened. The population is now 29% of the world are in the democracies, 71% are in the autocracies. And over the last year, we went from 46% in democracies to now 29% in democracies. And we went from 54% to 71% in autocracy. So we're not winning, folks. You know, it's not getting better. So this is how to become wiser. This is wise leaders. It's about wiseocracy. That's my program. But now this will only take 5 more minutes, and then we'll talk. So after going through the whole spiral dynamics work, I realized I think we're in trouble, and that there's systems I was looking at 3 levels: the earth level, the social level, and the human level here. And so we have a monthly meeting now on the 29th. There's going to be the next meeting's on the 29th. We look at environment, economics, education, people's, that's psychology in here, and political systems. So we're looking at these systems. This is what's going on in the world. They call it VUCA, Bani, Grupt, and Tuna, all these difficulties. I'll give you this document so you'll have it. Sex, money, and power. We're creating a culture, a sociopathic society of sex, money, and power, and they're feeding each other. They feed each other through emotional malnourishment and emotional trauma. You get irrational excesses, addictive living, self-deception, unhealthy relationships, unhealthy systems. So we're looking at the environment, economics, education. These are the big units: environment, economic, political, and education, where systems do not work and they don't work together. They're discordant and destructive. This is how it works, and it's leading to war and proliferation of nuclear weapons and destruction of the environment. And it's not like you're going to say, poof, we're going to stop war and we're going to stop proliferation of nuclear weapons. All these things are driving you to get to war and weapons, and they're driving to get to the destruction of the environment. These are drivers. The opposite, this is emotional nourishment, emotional fulfillment, rationality, simplicity, mindfulness, self-awareness, self-compassion, self-kindness, self-care, healthy relations, healthy systems. This is where the systems work and they work together. They're concordant, they're constructive. These are the drivers, and there you get global demilitarization and care for nature and future generations, the empathic society. And this is the real map now of what we're going to. Would somebody read going across the environment? I'll switch with you. Like Jim, read the environment, the irrational sociopathic society and the rational empathic society.
One minute, I'm going to turn off my computer. Hold on a minute, because I think they still are seeing me.
I'll silence her. The irrational sociopathic society is selfish destruction of the environment, disregard for future generations. The rational is earth care and regenerations, care in future generations.
Okay, economically, arrogance and self-centered greed are driving ever-expanding wealth gap. The positive would be spending on human, social, and Earth's needs for wisdom, well-being, and peace. Security, Jim?
Proliferation of militarism, nuclear weapons, AI autonomous killing robots. Or the rational is trust building for gradual global disarmament.
Right, politically, there's psychopathic leaders, authoritarianism, rigged elections and courts. And the positive would be development of wise democracy and wiseocracy. Education, Jim?
Dysfunctional education systems, competition deified,
Turned into God.
and the rational is an AI tutor for every child, wisdom and well valued.
Yeah, now that's possible. I'm just watching the Khan Academy, the head of that, and they're creating an AI tutor for every child. Psychology, thinking with bias and anti-science, narcissism, and desire for domination. The positive would be facts based on evidence and mutual benefit for all. for all in earth. So that's it, and that's where we're going. And I'm having that meeting on the 29th, and I have some good people involved in that meeting, you know, very good people. So you're all welcome to join that exploration into those 5 areas.
We have just a couple of minutes left. Are there any questions for Sanford? And of course, mine is, if there's in 12 words or less, can you define for us what's the one thing you want us to do tomorrow? In 12 words or less.
Just attend that, if you would, attend that group that I'm creating on the 29th, because that's a really good group of people from around the world, and we're really exploring things that have never been explored before. You know, Mike was in that group, or Jim was in that group. Richard Denton will be in that group, and there's some really good people. So let me drop, if you want to talk for a second, and I'll drop in the 2 documents into the chat.
Yeah. Any one last question?
I just have a comment. I got my hand up, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Tom.
that's all right.
Yes.
I'm just an observation is, at least from integrating your work within the Rotary world, I'm guessing, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Institute for Economics and Peace work.
Yes, I'm very familiar with their work, and I have some criticism of their work, because and you'll see it in that document, the second document, because I don't think that they use the term to have economically, to have equal access to economic, you know.
Well, for the sake of time, my point is, they put the investment and somehow have an international relationship with Rotary International. And so there's a collaborative already going on.
I know.
So how do you have different points of view, et cetera? I'm just.
I would like to have different points of view with them, because I don't think they're going far enough in terms of identifying well-being economy and donut economics are calling for.
I think you have a niche market. Briefly, I do a lot of work with nonviolent communication, and I think the biggest contribution Marshall Rosenberg brought is that we all have the same universal needs, no matter where we are, no matter what level. And sometimes when I just put needs out there, I can put 25 cards out and people just pick the card that's important to them, like respect, to be seen, to be heard. That brings more unity and connection, even though it's so complex with all your stuff. I just wanted to add that as a closure. Okay.
Wait,
Sanford,
so what are you actually saying to me? What, I didn't get that.
That with as complex and as many multi-level conflicts that are going on with all the share that you shared, the one thing that happens is if you put down the universal needs of respect, of consideration, you know, of to be heard, to be valued, etc., that is found universal, you know, no matter where.
But it is not universal, because that's universal on the green level. If you believe in, I studied nonviolent communications.
We don't have enough time for this, but my
I was
point
just going to say, in respect for
they-
everybody's time, excuse me, Sanford, in respect for everybody's time, we really hold to the time quite well, and we honor everybody and respect everybody's time. And Sanford, we can't thank you enough for sharing your extensive knowledge, and you're very thought-provoking and stimulating. And by the way, we have several people that I have on the list that are going to sign up for your group. So you've made a dent in the world tonight. So we thank you very, very much for that.
Can he put his link and for his materials in the chat?
Yeah, you just send, yeah, I'll put my email
Send
address.
it to me, Sandy, send it to me, and then I will send it out to anybody and everybody.
Very good.
I've got everybody's information. But so next week, we're so honored to have Byron Bland with us. Byron is, during his 40-year tenure at Stanford, he was a lecturer in the law in School of Education in the Department of International Relations as well as campus minister for the United Campus Christian Ministry. Having worked for over 25 years in Northern Ireland and over 15 years in the Israeli-Palestine conflict, Byron continues his involvement in both conflicts. At the 10th anniversary celebration of the Good Friday Agreement, that's the substantially ended the conflict in Northern Ireland, Byron was one of 3 Americans invited to participate, along with President Clinton and George Mitchell. There'll be much more, and we are so looking forward to next week to Brian Bland, When the Disagreement Becomes Dangerous. And we thank you all very much for this wonderful evening. And thank you again, Sanford, for a tremendous amount of information.
You're welcome, Jim.